Welcome. I'm Lori Byron. I work with the American Council of Engineering Companies, QBS, in Michigan, helping to increase awareness and share information about qualifications-based selection. Qualifications-based selection, or QBS, is a widely recognized best practice for procuring professional services, usually engineering, architecture, and surveying, but could also pertain to planning or even legal services. It's a simple and transparent process for matching the most qualified team to a project. Since 1972, with the passage of the Brooks Act, federal agencies have prioritized qualifications over price when selecting architects and engineers. And what's important to know is that a 2022 study by professors from Georgia Tech and the University of Colorado looked at thousands of projects and found that the projects that using QBS to procure engineering services had lower project costs, faster construction speed, and improved construction quality, largely due to better design documents and fewer change orders. With me today, I have Tria Sekala, who is with Jacobs Engineering. And Tria, would you tell us a little bit about your background and your experience with qualifications-based selection?
Sure, Lori. Hi, everyone. My name is Tria Sakala. I lead our transportation growth. I'm with Jacobs, and I lead our transportation growth in Michigan. Prior to joining Jacobs 2 years ago, I worked for the Federal Highway Administration, administering Ohio DOT, multiple programs, pavements, materials, operations, safety, and ITS. In addition to that, I did a lot of grant management and a few corporate initiatives as well. Prior to joining Federal Highway, I did work for Michigan DOT for about 14 years. I started my career in construction and moved over into project development and design. And I also have a background in safety and operations with MDOT as well. During my time at MDOT, I was involved in preparing scopes of work for construction and some for safety as well. And then moving over to Federal Highway, I didn't do a lot of QBS selections, but I did serve as an advisor to the Ohio DOT and other agencies on their selections, their QBS selections. So looking forward to the discussion today.
Excellent. So it sounds as though you've had a very broad experience with engineering projects and were able to advise folks at agencies on how to select the best team. So you will be perfect to share a little bit of your perspective today.
Thanks,
From your experience with the Federal Highway Administration and the Michigan Department of Transportation, how do you see qualifications-based selection enhancing quality, efficiency of engineering projects compared to other procurement methods?
Well, qualifications-based selection is a great opportunity to leverage a company's skill set and networks to achieve project and program goals. QBS allows the clients to focus on choosing partners with the appropriate experience that will complement their needs versus low bid, which places a focus on price and could lead to some concessions in experience and it could ultimately increase risks. My experience has been utilizing qualifications-based selection can potentially minimize costs and schedule risks and create a more collaborative and innovative approach between the owner and the service provider. So service provider being a firm or a contractor. QBS allows the owner to make a selection based off of the proposing company's understanding of the project, their experience, and their approach before negotiating price. It's important to note that price is still a component of QBS. It just isn't leading the QBS process.
I think that's excellent. I want to pull out just a couple of things from what you said, that using a QBS approach can help to reduce risk of a a project, say, going off the rails on its schedule or on its cost. And you also lifted up that price is still a component, but it's not the leading component. Qualifications are the leading component. I think that's helpful to know. Let's talk about real world experience. Could you share an example of a successful project where QBS played a key role in selecting the right engineering team, and talk a little bit about how it might have led to better outcomes in terms of cost, performance, or long-term value?
Sure. With Federal Highway, I served as an advisor to the Ohio DOT and other agencies on a few procurements. One project involved a federal grant for technology deployment. It had multiple project partners, and the project type and its goals were fairly new to all involved. Utilizing QBS and reminding the selection team of the project goals, the ultimate selection was a firm whose team had a background clearly well suited for the project. They had experience with similar deployments. They had project experience throughout the country, and they were familiar with the technologies that were going to likely be used on the project. Signed on, the selected team knew right out the gate which questions to start asking. I mentioned earlier that this particular project had multiple stakeholders and teaming partners within the project. It was Council of Governments, so a collaboration between the DOT and local agencies. And once that team got on, they realized quickly that there was a unique relationship between each of the stakeholders on the project team. So they actually contacted me and asked me if I could meet with them to discuss just the team dynamic overall. And I was able to give them a synopsis of what was happening, right? This is a Council of Governments leading the project, and only one recipient, quite honestly. So understanding the team partnership arrangement and how the partners should be prioritized, and which partner had technology deployment capabilities and resources helped the firm's ability to manage the project team, educate the team on possible technologies outside of their normal use, helped develop performance measures, and helped the team quickly make decisions to move the project along. There were many times that the firm reminded the project team of scope, schedule, budget, accomplishments, consequences for delays, and decisions and decision paths, which ultimately helped the project move along quicker and satisfying the goals of the project.
That's an interesting example. A couple of key points that stood out for me was QBS can be particularly helpful in a complex project situation because folks who have experience can help an owner who may have less experience in a situation navigate some of those intricacies. That makes a lot of sense. And I heard that the experienced firm was able to approach the intangibles very well in a way that guided the owner.
Yes.
By understanding those relationships between the partners who were part of that project ownership team, and that was a key point in helping to achieve a successful outcome. And another thing that I heard you say I want to lift up is that the firm brought new ideas or innovations. And I think that is something that we talk about as QBS being particularly helpful in doing. What are some common pitfalls or mistakes that agencies might make when they're crafting a request for qualifications? And how can they ensure that their process results in selecting the best qualified firm for the job?
That's a great question, Lori. I would say one pitfall that I've seen is being too prescriptive in how the proposing team should address the service or the goal or the project. Setting minimal requirements is fine, but I think it's best to allow the proposers to share their approach to the project. And another pitfall is not being transparent about constraints. Being upfront about constraints such as stakeholders, company procedures, funding sources, decision-making paths is important because it helps the proposing company and its team assess these risks and address how they will navigate them in the proposal. And then another pitfall that is pretty common is just not giving an advance notice that the RFP will be advertised. Each company has their own internal procedures for responding to an RFP. So if an agency knows that there's something that's coming up, it's really in their best interest to somehow let industry know that they're looking to get support in solving a specific problem, so that companies have advance notice, can have appropriate conversations to really produce a solid proposal.
Oh, those are really helpful tips. So setting minimal requirements while not being too prescriptive about how to approach the project
Right.
allows for some of those innovative ideas that the agency owner might not have already thought of. Being really clear about the constraints on the project and providing a lot of advance notice that an RFQ might be coming out and the targeted time frame. I can understand that. I work with some large owners who have very, very big projects. And I hear from the firms who propose on those projects that they build their team sometimes a year in advance of the project. And so it's really helpful to know that it's coming out and what the time frame is. Those are great pieces of advice. So let's round it out with any additional advice that you would give to public agencies and decision makers who might be a little hesitant about QBS. Maybe they've never tried it before. How can they ensure that their selection process is both fair and leads to the best outcome?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to say that I understand that funding is limited, and also that it takes time to work through the procurement process procurement process that's needed for QBS selection. But I will say that if an agency finds itself with a unique issue that falls outside of their staff's general expertise and requires outside support, QBS is the way to go.
Thank you, Tria, for sharing your expertise here today. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I do want to let anyone watching it know that you can get free resources from Michigan's QBS Coalition. Just go to the QBS Michigan website at qbs-mi.org. And there you'll find a lot of different resources. There are brochures that you can share with your team members, with your councils or boards. There are sample requests for qualifications that you can model, a detailed QBS workbook with templates for the different forms that you might use for each step in the process. And one thing that not a lot of people are aware of, but is extremely valuable, is that QBS offers a facilitator that will guide owners through the process at no cost. They don't weigh in on the selection itself, but they are there to serve as a resource to coach folks through the process, which can be helpful if it's your first time. So with that, I want to say thank you so much, Tria. Appreciate your time and hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Lori.